Hello and welcome to our video, Google Sheets Basics. My name's Caryn. I'm one of the Educational Technology Consultants at SOITA, one of your state ed techs in Ohio. If you have any questions regarding this program following the video, please feel free to email me at Caryn, C-A-R-Y-N, at SOITA, S-O-I-T-A.org. I'd be more than happy to answer any of your questions. If you are planning on getting a certificate of attendance for watching this video, please head over to ohioedtechs.org and fill out the form. You'll need the title of the video and you'll also need this code, GSST. That needs to be put in all caps. Make sure you type your email in correctly, and then once you submit the form, you should receive a certificate of attendance for participating in this video. Okay, let's head over and start talking about Google Sheets. So there's two ways that you can get into a Google Sheet, okay? So the way I do it is I go through my Drive. So if you go up to your app launcher and choose Drive, you can just create a new sheet from there, the new button, okay? Sheets. All right. Another way that people go about it is from your app launcher, going to the app launcher and just choosing Sheets, okay? Now the reason that I go through Drive is because I always have my Drive open 24/7. That's where I live. So I've already got it open. It just makes sense for me to open my Google Sheet from there. However, if that's not you, maybe you just want to do this, okay? All this is, when you go to that Sheets icon, is a filtered view of your Drive that is just your spreadsheets. They have one for presentations, they have one for docs, they have one for forms, okay? If you were to go to sheets.google.com, this is where it would take you, okay? I'm going to open up a spreadsheet that has some data in it already, okay? And then I'm going to make a copy of this so that I can do this later. All right. And then another thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to make a clean page for us to get started on. So I'm in this spreadsheet document. I have multiple sheets down here in the spreadsheet, so you can do that. You can take your data and then you can make related sheets to it. It's really nice because there's sometimes when you're working on a project where you have multiple sets of data or you're keeping track of multiple items that are all related, you can keep them all in the same spreadsheet. To make multiple sheets or pages within your spreadsheet, there's a little plus sign down here in the lower left-hand corner. Just going to click on that, and we have a nice, clean sheet. Okay? When you are in a spreadsheet, you're working with cells. We've got rows and columns. All of our rows are numerical, and all of our columns are alphabetical. So right now, I'm in cell A1. Okay? You can click to select specific cells. And anytime you need to select the entire sheet, if you wanted to make a change that affected everything in the entire spreadsheet, like font or color or whatever, you need to click this little thing in the corner, right? There's a little box in the corner, and that selects the entire spreadsheet, okay? When you are in Google Sheets, if you are working collaboratively, one thing that's always good to know is you are always going to be the blue cell. Let me zoom in just a little bit so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Do you see how that cell is highlighted in blue? When other people join, there'll be other colors, but you are always the blue one. Just like when you're in docs, you're always that like flashing black cursor. So that's a really easy way for you to tell where you are. You can use, to navigate, your mouse, the arrows on your keyboard, okay? And then you can also use some different keystrokes. All right, so I'm going to put in student name. Okay, and then if I wanted to move right to go over to the next column, I would say date turned in, money raised. All right, and then if I wanted to go down, I can hit enter. All right. I'm just hitting enter to go down. So tab to go right, shift plus tab to go left, enter to go down, Shift Enter to go up. So Shift basically just makes that button do the opposite of what it normally does. Okay. All right. So let's talk a little bit about some of the things that this does for us, okay? Oops. I'm going to put some more names in here. All right. So inputting content and formatting that content. To input a date, just type the date in, okay? Right? If you need to input today's date, you can do Command or Control if you're on a PC. I'm on a Mac. And the semicolon key, and that will put today's date in. All right? Now, if you wanted it to fill in dates in order, okay? Like today is the 21st. I want to put tomorrow's date and the next date and the next date. You can use the autofill feature. So I can select a date here, pull it down, and you can see that it's put in the next couple dates. So that's really nice if you're making like a schedule or something. If you want it to fill in the same date repeatedly, you have to have at least 2 instances of the same date, so you can tell it, I don't want you to create a pattern, I want you to fill it with this. And then you select both of those, so clicking and dragging, and you drag down, and then it'll fill in the same date. Pretty cool, huh? Some other things that it will do numbers. You need at least 2, okay, for it to fill. It will do patterns. I like to usually give it 3, so I'm telling it to count by 2s here. I select all 3, pull down. It does days of the week, and it will do patterns here as well. Days of the week. It will do months. Does all kinds of stuff. All right, so it just makes it really, hopefully, really easy for you. Okay. So then let's talk about formatting your cells. So I'm going to put in some numbers here. Okay, so a couple things as far as formatting numbers. So you have up here your formatting tools. There's more formats here to get this list. You can get the same options under the format menu, okay, under number. Great. Okay, so if I wanted all of these to say 2020 instead of 20, and there were some more that weren't the same, I would just highlight my cells, or I can highlight the entire column if I'm going to be putting more data in later. I can highlight the entire column, go to that drop down to date, and select the one I want. You can also choose from these other date formats or do a custom format here. So I'm going to do date, and now they all say 2020. And the cool thing about this is that now I've already formatted that. So if I have someone come in on 3/22 and put 20, watch, it's going to change it to 2020 because I formatted it that way. All right. Same thing here. I'm going to select the C cell. I'm going to go up to the currency format. Now it's all formatted in dollars. And if I have someone else that comes in, puts a number in without a dollar sign, because I already formatted that, voila, right? Makes it super simple. Okay. Now, one thing I don't like right now about my little bit of data that I've created here is that when I scroll, I'm losing my pertinent information that I need. So one thing I always like to do is go up to View and freeze one row. That gives me a header row so I can scroll. And then if you also wanted to freeze these names, if I had a bunch of data across and I didn't want to lose that name, you can also go to View and freeze a column. And now I can scroll across and down. Okay? All right. So this looks nice. Another thing you can do to make it look kind of pretty, you can select your columns or select the whole sheet and go up to Format, and we like to go down here to Alternating Colors. And this is going to make one of those nice, really pretty, easy to read alternating colored sheets. So now I can really see everything. It's looking good. All right. So far, so good? All right. So let's talk a little bit about some of the great features that are accessible to you here in Sheets. I'm going to select my amounts here. Down here in the bottom right, they have what's called the quick sum, and it's quickly told me that the sum of that is $285. All right. I'm also able to see the average, the minimum, maximum, and how many contributions we had. So that is just real quick for me. I'm able to see that. If I wanted to have a total down here, total raised, I can use what's called a formula or function. I'm going to use the sum function. So anytime that you want to use one of these formulas, you have to start by typing an equals sign. And it's like, hey, you typed an equals sign, you want to use one of these, right? And then because it's in a column or a row, depending on where I am, with a bunch of numbers, it's going to say, hey, do you want to use this data? And I'm going to say, absolutely I do. So I'm going to just click where it says sum. And then hit enter, and there it is. Now, you may not always be putting this total down here. So if you wanted to put it like somewhere over here, total raised, I would put equals sum. It's going to pop up. It's not giving me the columns or the cells this time that I'm going to be utilizing. So I'll have to come over here with my cursor and drag, and then always close the parentheses and hit enter, and it's going to do the same thing. I can also do average raised equals average okay. All right. Now let me show you something cool here. I'm going to do money raised. Let's do March money raised April. Okay. Now you're going to notice I've got some issues here. If you want the cell to just automatically or to be expanded to the exact width you need, you can just hover over the line that divides the columns and double click, and it will take care of it. There it goes. Okay. That's a little big for what we need. You can also click on it, and there's this little, right now it's going through the cell line. We want to choose text wrapping to drop down. I typed it in the same cell. Let me grab that. Ooh. All right. I'm going to do the same thing here. And then just putting some random numbers. Ooh, it's a bad month for a couple of us. Okay. I'm going to move these. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on D, and I'm going to insert one right. So it's going to insert a column over here. I'm going to go ahead and format these as money. And then I'm going to put total raised. And this is kind of cool here. So remember our autofill that we saw earlier? I'm going to go equals sum, and it wants C2, D2 because I'm in a row now. Okay, great. So there, this person's raised $79. Because there's a formula in here now, I'm going to click on this cell and I'm going to do the autofill. There's my total raised for each person. So the autofill is awesome. All right. You can also, if you're trying to analyze your data, use this Explore tool that's down here. So it's right next to our AutoSum. It's this little pop-up with like a little star. It's going to look at your data and say, here's a bunch of information. Do you want to ask a question about your data? Do you want to make a pivot table with your data? Here's some different charts using your data. So it's a nice tool. And you have the Explore tool available in Docs, Sheets, and Slides, but I think Sheets is where it's at its most powerful and most useful. Okay. All right, so that's some basics in here. I'm going to go into my student data page now, and I'm going to close that, and we're going to zoom out a little bit and talk about sorting and filtering and different filter views, okay? So there's a ton of data here. This would be a great case for using the Explore tool because there's so much data in here that it's going to be difficult for me to figure out what I even want to do with it. So it is asking me if I want to make a different pivot tables, if I want to analyze my data. It's giving me a nice set of options that I can work with here. What I want to do is I want to filter and create some filter views for myself. So maybe someone's giving you a ton of data and they've told you, I need to know how many of these kids in this set of data are proficient in Campos's class. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my whole sheet by clicking that square, and I'm going to go to this little funnel. That's our filter. We're going to funnel our data and filter it out. So I'm going to click Create Filter. I'm going to go to Level. See the little triangle that's there now? And I'm going to say Clear and just select Proficient. So now I'm seeing just the proficient kids. And then I'm going to go over to Teacher, and I'm going to say Clear and say just Campos. And now I'm seeing just Campos's proficient kids. Maybe I'm going to do that for everybody. I'm going to have a lot of this data. I don't really want to have to make a separate sheet for each one or something crazy like that. So what you can do, there's a little drop down next to the filter. I'm going to say Save as Filter View. And now I can name it. I'm going to call it Campos-Proficient. And close it out. And I can click my little filter then to turn it off. I'm back looking at just the way it was. Okay, I could even filter it further and say I want to see just the advanced math kids in this class. You can, when you select the whole sheet like that, you can filter as much as your heart wants, okay? But I want to get that filter view back now, so I can go back to the little down arrow and Campos Proficient's there, and I have it. So you filter, save as a filter view, and then you have those filter views all set up so you can easily access that data and that analysis of the data. All right. I'm going to go into my Gradebook Sample, show you a couple more of my favorite bits. I'm just removing something here so I can show you how to add it. So if you're like, what's she doing? That's what I'm doing. Let me go to View. I'm going to freeze a column here so I can move this over so I'm not standing in front of it. Okay. So first of all, I want to show you how to add those drop-down lists because we've probably seen those in Sheets and we're like, that's really useful, but I'm not sure how to do that, okay? So I'm going to select the cells I want to add that to, and I'm going to use something that's called data validation. So data validation allows me to create a rule or control what sort of data can be input into the cells. And in this case, I'm going to do a list. So I'm going to go to Data, choose Data Validation, and I'm going to choose from the criteria, list of items, and they need to be comma separated. So I'm going to do yes, no, and optional. And I'm going to leave this checked where it says show drop-down list in the cell, okay? And I'm going to show a warning. I'm not going to reject the input because every once in a while for me, I like to maybe type something else like I gave the student the option, they declined, or something like that, okay? So I'm going to just say save. And now I have these little arrows where I can say optional, no. And you can still type. Like I can still type optional, no, no. These are, and you can do an autofill here as well. So like I've got all these no's. Not too bad, right? Okay. All right, another one that I love, and this is so simple and silly, but I just love it, is checkboxes, or checkboxes. So I'm going to select the cells I want to checkbox in. All you have to do is go to Insert, Checkbox. And there it is. So we can check our checkboxes. Okay, looks good, right? All right, easy peasy. All right, so now another thing that I want to be able to do is sort my data, okay? Alphabetically is really popular. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to my data and I'm going to say, I'm going to select column A because I'm going to sort by student name, and I've got this, excuse me, this header row here, so it's not going to sort my student name. I'm going to, or it's not going to sort the student name into the names. I'm sorry, let me clarify that. It's not going to put student name like down here. It's going to keep that header row. I'm going to go to Data, and I'm going to do Sort Sheet by column A because I've selected it. You don't want sort range. Sometimes you'll have data sort range by column A. You want sort sheet. If I sorted the range, it would sort just this stuff, and their test scores wouldn't come along with it, okay? You want your data to travel together. So I'm going to do sort sheet by column A, and they are all still together. I see Anderson still checked and has a class average of 26, so I know it all traveled together, okay? And now they're in alphabetical order. I could also sort them by their average. I could select column H and go to Data and say sort sheet by column H, A to Z, and now they're in order of their class average, which doesn't look very good because these are points instead of percentages, but that's a whole other thing. Okay, all right, that wasn't too bad, right? So those are some nice basic things that you can do with sheets. There's other content you can insert. You can add images. You can use Google Drawings. You can add links. Just keep in mind when you're adding links that it will link everything in the cell. So you're not able to link a single word within the cell. It's going to be the whole cell, all the text. If there's a sentence, a paragraph, whatever, it'll all be linked. The whole cell is linked. Images. Insert image. You can put your image in a cell or over a cell. So if I do in a cell, do a Google image search. Oh, it didn't like that one. Let's try a different one. Hope for the best. There, see it put it in there. It's teeny tiny because the cell was only this big. But if I were to grab and make that larger, it would be larger, okay? So that's in the cell. And then you can also insert images over cells. And then it'll be on top and you can kind of move it and you can make it smaller. So if you want to be able to move it, around. You can add it over the cell or you can put it right within the cell, okay? All right. You've got all different formatting options like I mentioned. You can also format your text. You've got some different tools here. There's a paint bucket if you wanted to do a background in your cell. You can, strike through, no. You've got your font colors, alignment tools, all that great stuff. You still have the chat and the comments feature that you have in docs and slides and everywhere else. And then sharing settings are all the same. One thing you can do is protect certain sheets. So if you are in a spreadsheet where you've shared it with other people, but you want one of these sheets to be protected, maybe this one, there's a drop-down arrow here by the name of the sheet where you can protect it, so you can set specific permissions to just this sheet or just arrange in a sheet. So know that you can do that. If you're like, I want to share this with people, but there's this one sheet in here that I don't want them to see or that I don't want them to mess with, you can protect it or even hide that sheet from people. Okay? All right. I think that's probably enough basics of spreadsheets. If you have any questions, like I said, please feel free to email me. At my email, it's Caryn, C-A-R-Y-N, @soita.org. And thanks again so much for joining us, and we'll see you in the next video.